Most people believe that when they have the confidence, when they have the capability, then they will make a commitment. Then their life will change. The opposite of that is the truth of it. And in this video, what happens when you truly decide, I'm going to share with you how you may be blocking magic in your life. And if you get this, I promise you, if you get this and apply it in your life, I promise you, your life will change in such phenomenal ways that you cannot even imagine at this point, quite literally. All right. And this started for me, and I will share with you a quotation that I've been carrying with me for decades, that I know from memory, that changed my life in myriad ways, and I could not have predicted. I don't even know how I knew about it from the beginning, how I knew that it was so important, that it was on my desk when I was 8 years old. My mother gave me the quotation. Before I read it to you, though, a story. This is a story I have shared on stage around the world, especially at transformational events that I lead. There was a farmer who was doing his kind of farming things out early in the morning. Just as dawn came, first light, he looks down as he's walking through the field and he sees an egg. It was kind of a weird egg. He didn't really recognize it. He knows chickens, but something was different about this egg. But, you know, he was a simple guy. He's like, well, what do I do with it? Well, I'll take it and put it in the hen house. Put it with the chicken eggs. So he puts it there. What does the hen do? Well, she was a bit simple also. And by the way, I don't mean simple in any kind of derogatory way. Simple is beautiful. Simple is what's most important. And oftentimes, simple isn't easy. So the hen sits on the egg, just like the rest of her eggs. Time passes. The egg does what eggs do. It cracks. It opens. And out comes a eaglet. A little baby eagle. Now, the eaglet didn't know it was an eaglet. Eaglet was hatched right around the same time as some other little birds, chickens. So, they grew up together. Bunch of chickens hanging out with an eaglet. And they did the things that little birds do. They would peck at the ground. They'd look for little seeds. They'd make their squawking noises. Every now and then they'd take a little run and they'd flap a bit. And then they'd land, almost getting in the air. Things went along like this for years. Until one day, this now grown eagle hanging out with the chickens, they're out in the yard outside the hen house, and suddenly up in the air there is a bird flying, majestic, very high, soaring, barely a flap of its wings. And so the eagle looks up like, huh. The chickens look up, they're all watching it, and then the eaglet suddenly says, who's that? Well, the chickens, they had learned from their parents, that's an eagle. He belongs to the sky. We belong to the earth. Now, the question becomes, are you an eagle or are you a chicken? Are you a divine creature able to create anything, or are you limited by your confidence and your capability? I'll show you how this became so important for me in my own life. First, though, the quotation. And again, my mother, I don't know, it puzzles me really why she gave this to me when I was 8 years old. 'Cause she didn't really, like, she didn't give me quotations, she didn't give me, but she actually printed it out. Not this very same copy, the one pretty much just like it. And she gave it to me and I read it, and I look at it now and I'm like, I probably didn't even understand a lot of the words, but something in me knew that it was important for me. And so I put it up on my desk, or on the wall by my desk. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, concerning all acts of initiative and creation. There is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. And we'll go back over this in a moment, and I'll give even plainer language for it, or different language. All sorts of things occur to help one that never otherwise would have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision. From the what? From the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no man could have dreamed would come his way. Whatever you can do, or dream you can do it, begin it. Boldness has genius, magic, and power in it. Begin it now. In 1995, despite my opposition to religion, despite not believing in God, God wasn't even a word that I could have used at that point in my life. Nonetheless, God whacked me upside the head with a divine 2x4. What does that mean? It means I had a spiritual awakening, Kundalini rising, or I went crazy. Right? I lost my cookies. I didn't know what was what. Some said it was a Kundalini awakening. Some said it was a psychotic break. I knew in the moment of it, the mountaintop moment, quite literally, when I felt like a lightning rod for God, I knew that my life was changed forever. And I went from not believing in God, right? I was agnostic, I said, which was really because I was scared to say atheist. I was agnostic just in case I have it wrong. I don't want to piss anybody off. I went straight from not believing, past believing, into knowing, like knowing in every core of my body. Have you had the experience where you see something and you can't unsee it, where you experience something invisible, yet you know it's more real than what is visible? Love can be like that. Relationship, a depth of relationship with someone, can't go back. Well, that's how it was for me. I knew I couldn't go back. Still, after that experience, my old life was blown up. I couldn't go back in many ways because it just didn't make any sense anymore. However, the experience right after the awakening, it was so big, I didn't know what to do with it. I glimpsed, I tasted what the Buddhists call satori. That's the experience, a taste of enlightenment. I don't love the word enlightenment, and still non-duality, freedom, the peace that passeth all understanding, loving what is, the power of now. There's so many different words for it. The exalted state, which is our divine nature. I experienced it. And then after I experienced it, the words my mother would have used were, all hell broke loose. I got locked up in a mental hospital. That's a long story with bizarre synchronicities. I had involuntary commitment. I didn't do anything dangerous. It was a misunderstanding. Nonetheless, that didn't seem like the way it was supposed to go. My experience after that was like, uh-oh, I must have really messed up. What does this mean? Because this was like the most blissful, amazing experience of my life, and now I'm locked up here, and they're telling me I'm crazy. Well, they didn't use that word, but something like that. Those were the associations I had. Well, I got out of there pretty quickly, and that led me into a whole different world. First, though, after that, I got really depressed. Because I got so depressed because I said, I've tasted this thing, yet I don't know how to live it. I'm confused. Eventually, though, the depression passed, my feet came back down to the ground, and I realized I need to figure this out. This being spirit in human form. Like what life really is, what's possible. What I experienced back there, I must be that. Abraham Maslow said it as what man can be, man must be. So what happened? I had no idea how I was going to do that. I made a decision. The decision was, that's what's most important. I will return to that state. I didn't know anything about the New Age or meditation or yoga. This is 31 years ago. I made the decision, though. I made the commitment. So remember, here's how it goes. We tend to think we've been brought up this way by people who want us to be safe. And the human animal part of us, of course, it's geared towards safety. And of course, fear is an incredible ally for that part of us. However, we're not just human animal, we're also spirit. So from that human animal fear perspective, we think, well, I'll make the commitment when I have the capability, right? When I have the capacity to do that thing, right? Because when I have the capacity and the capability, then I'll have the courage. Then I'll make the commitment. Doesn't work that way. How does it work? We make the commitment. And to make the commitment, we do need courage, right? To say, I'm going to do this thing. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Can you imagine that? Like, what must have been like for that coach over the next decades? I don't know. In any case, Michael Jordan cut from his high school basketball team. I was cut from my high school baseball team, and that was kind of the end of the story for me. I wasn't good enough in baseball, I thought. Michael Jordan had a different thought, though. He had a different knowing in his bones. His thought was something like, yeah, I can be really good, though. I can be so good, I could be the best in the world. I could play in the NBA. And so what did he do? After his first year of high school, he made a decision, a commitment. That's not going to happen again. I'm not going to get cut from the team again. How'd he do it? He started working really hard, practicing really hard, committed to it, to the practice, so that he had the courage to make the commitment, I will not be cut again, and then developed the capacity, the competency through practice, right? And eventually, he had the confidence. So, are you with me? Are you getting the order of events here? Let's look at this part that Goethe, did I tell you that? Wolfgang Amadeus Goethe. I think that's his whole name. No, I think I put it, I put in, anyway, Goethe. We'll just leave it at that. I might have confused his middle name. Okay, until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, right? We know that. I really want to do that thing, but I'm not going to tell anybody. What about the things we don't tell that we tell ourselves and we don't tell matters just as much? Until we make a true commitment, we've got the chance to pull away from it. Maybe it's not that important. Maybe I can't do it. concerning all acts of initiative and creation. Here's the truth, the one elementary truth, that if we don't know it, it kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That the moment, get this, at the moment one truly commits oneself, then providence moves too. Providence. That's, is that the capital of Rhode Island? It's a town. Providence. It also means magic, right? It means spiritual, invisible forces working for our good. Providence moves too. How does Goethe put it? All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole bunch of stuff starts happening that otherwise just wouldn't have happened because we had the courage to make the commitment. So powerful. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents, meetings, and material insistence, which no man could have dreamed would come his way. What does that mean? A whole bunch of stuff starts happening, right? Unforeseen incidents, like we couldn't have even imagined that would happen. Meetings, material assistance. I'll tell you another one. Not long before that spiritual awakening, I was really focused on writing. What I wanted to do most in the world was develop myself as a writer. I had this knowing in me that I could be an incredible writer, one of the best writers in the world. So I was working hard at it. I was writing, studying writing. I had no money, in part because I hadn't figured out yet how to really make money. In part, though, because I had the belief then that what I needed to do was put all my time into writing, and the least other work, the best. And there's truth to that, right? You got to do the miles, as my friend Quanta says, when it comes to be training for a marathon. You got to do the miles to be a great writer. It means writing. So I was focused on my writing, my work. I wasn't going to take a job. I would do childcare and shovel snow. This was in New England, Amherst, Massachusetts. So I had very little money, time for writing, and it was progressing. One day I was sitting in a famous bookstore, Atticus Books, I think is the name of it, at the center of Amherst, Massachusetts, the town where I lived. And I didn't even have money enough to buy the book. It was called, I think it was Poets and Writers, actually, or something like that, a big publication book. And so I was sitting on the floor in the bookstore. They were all cool with that back in those days. Sitting on the floor reading this book, and I came across an interview. And I read this interview, and I don't remember anything about the interview now. What I remember, though, is at the end of the interview, I was like, wow, who wrote this? No, it wasn't an interview, it was an article. And at the end of it, I said, who wrote this? And I looked at the name, and it said, John Edgar Wideman. And then I looked at the bio. Teaches fiction writing at the University of Massachusetts. And that's what I was writing. University of Massachusetts was literally less than a mile away from where I was sitting in that bookstore. And I had this desire pop into me. Desire. Decidere, of the stars. It was the universe speaking to me. I wouldn't have said God at that point in my life. However you look at it, my higher self speaking to me. I had the desire come. I want to go study with that guy. Now, that was ridiculous because, one, I'm not a student at the school. Two, he only teaches in the MFA program, Masters of Fine Arts, for which there is a waiting list. It's hard to get into, and it's really expensive. Still, somehow I had enough wisdom and courage at that moment to say, I'm going to do it. And I didn't even know really if it was possible at that point. I just said, I'm going to find out. So I did some research, and I found out that people in the community in that town could take courses at the university by paying for them if they have permission from the teacher. Like, Okay, well, there's a path. I'll do it. So I went to the graduate English department. This was just before the semester was going to begin. So this was August 1994, maybe. And even getting there, I was so nervous and scared. I didn't know how to get there. Had all these stories running in my head. These are a whole bunch of rich kids over here, and I'm a poor kid, and I'm barely getting by. And these are smart kids, and I'm not a smart kid. And in fact, I'm not a kid anymore. I graduated from college a few years ago. I was feeling like a misfit, making up all kinds of stories that were not resourceful. Nonetheless, I got to the desk, and the woman that worked there said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yes, that would be great." I would mustered up my courage. I said, "I would like to take Dr. Weidman's fiction workshop this semester." She looked at me and then she said, "Are you a student here?" I said, "No." She said, "Well," I said, "Well, I read that people from the community could take a course here." And she said, "Well, technically that's true. You would have to have the permission of Dr. Weidman to do that." And she didn't say it. However, the implication was and that ain't going to happen. No way. Nonetheless, as bummed out as I was hearing that, I still I have this desire and I'm going to see it through. And I said, "Okay, no problem." So she said, "Okay, well, here's what you do. You go to the first class of the semester. It's next week, Thursday at 11 a.m., and bring a piece of writing with you." So then I was like, "Okay, I'm going to be there next Thursday at 11 a.m. What writing am I going to bring? And how am I going to pay for this?" Well, it's amazing to me, actually, because it wasn't very expensive. When I think back on it now, the cost for somebody in the community joining a class, even a graduate level class, was something like $500 per credit. This was a 3-credit class, so it was going to be $1,500. But look, I was barely making my $350 per month rent at that point. Childcare was not paying so great in those days. So that was one. How am I going to pay for this? What piece of writing am I going to bring? Nonetheless, I went. The very first day I get there, so lost, huge campus, then where's the English department, where's blah, blah. Finally get there. I'm sweat pouring down my face, feeling so nervous. I get there and there's one of those doors with a little window in it, and I look in and I see this guy, this huge, dark-skinned, African-American dude at the front of the room, imposing figure. A bunch of students sitting there. He's talking, and I'm aware at this point that I got lost and didn't know where to park, and I'm late. What to do? I open the door, and you can't make this up. Literally, the moment I stepped in, he didn't pause what he was saying. And what he was saying is, "I will be on time, and I expect you to be on time." I'll just sit over here under this desk. Don't mind me. Well, we went through the whole rest of the class, me feeling like quite the imposter. At the end of the class, all the MFA students, they left. And he looked at me and I went up to him. And by this point, I was so upset with myself, though I believed it was other people to blame for my upset. And he said, "Well, who are you? What's up?" And I was like, "Well, I'm a writer, and I would like to take your class. And they told me at the English department that I would bring you a piece of my writing." And I had it in my hand, a story that I was working on. And if you deem that I am worthy, then you might accept me into the class. It was so heavy, that chip on my shoulder. And he looked at me. And remember, he's like 6'6", I think. He's a former basketball player, college basketball player. So he looks down at me. He's like, "Well, it's probably not quite so severe as that, though. Yes, it'd be good if I have a sense of your writing first." I was like, "Oh, gosh, I was just such a jerk, and he was so gracious. Uh, okay, thank you. So I hand him the piece of writing. He's like, so let's do this. Come back next week, and then I'll let you know. So I'm feeling pretty excited, right? Like I got to go to the first class. I get to come to the second class. I still didn't know how I was going to get the money together. But hey, cross that bridge when we get there. That's commitment. Cross that bridge when we get there. Next week, I come to the class early, sit down, go through the whole class. He didn't say anything to me at the beginning. Same like last time. 3 hours later, all the other kids leave. And then it's just he and I in the room. And he says to me, well, let me ask you, why do you want to take this course? And I was like, oh, is this a test? And he's like, well, what I mean is, do you want the college credits for this? Is that important to you? And I was like thinking about like, well, I don't know. And then he continues to, well, because if you're here because you want to become a better writer and the college credits aren't that important to you, that would be a lot easier for me. Then I don't have to do a whole bunch of administrative work. And, you're writing. There's some areas to work on, and there's some things that are really good here. I don't need the credit. No, I don't need those college credits. And it was true. And I was like, well, yeah, he nailed it. Actually, it's like the reason I'm here is because I'm committed to being one of the greatest writers of all time. So I said, okay, cool, awesome. He's like, great. See you next week. I walked out of there dizzy. Like, how did that happen? I'm in the class. And it was only when I got, it was a 10-minute walk from there to my car. When I got to my car, I realized I don't have to pay. Wow. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which nobody could have dreamed would come their way. All right, I got one more story. You getting this right? Capability, confidence, capability and confidence, those come later. They are the byproduct of the courage to make a commitment. One more story for you. I love this. My friend, Coach JP, when he first hired our common mentor, Steve Hardison, whose fee before Steve retired was $200,000, JP, before he started to work with him, it was a big deal to come up with that much money. He'd never spent that much money on anything, hadn't even spent that much money on a house. Whole incredible process to create that money. And he wired the whole thing in one go to Steve. And when he wired it, he had a meltdown. Started sweating. And then the thought came to him, what if this guy dies before I even do the coaching with him? And he did a beautiful thing, which is he took that theoretical, rhetorical question, and we do this all the time. Why am I like this? Why isn't this working? How come so-and-so said that? We ask these things theoretically, rhetorically, and yet if we actually ask them for real, ask the question for real and listen, powerful answers come. The answer he got when he really looked at it was, well, I'm going to get the results anyway. I will go to Steve's office. He works with people in person. I'll go to Steve's office. Every time I will read his notes. I'll show up. I will do whatever it takes with this to get the result that I committed to creating through this work with him. Powerful. Commitment. So, for you, here's my question. What desire is there that you know is scary? Our destiny, what we're really here for, our true purpose, dharma, ikigai, it lives in between what we fear most and what we desire most. When both of those are active, desire and fear, and we say yes, we make a commitment, we have the courage, right? Because that's where they meet, is in our heart, courage. We have the courage to, in spite of the fear, even with the fear there, to feel the fear and make the commitment anyway. What is that for you? What might you commit to? Is it asking somebody for a date? Is it starting a business? Is it having just a challenging conversation that you've been avoiding? Right? And there are all kinds of commitments. Some of them are huge. Some of them are everyday small ones, and they all matter. And each one teaches us who we are. I am the kind of person who commits, who has the courage to commit. So what would you do? What would you commit to if you knew you couldn't fail? Y'all, the world is waiting. Anything is possible. Please make your life a masterpiece. I hope these stories bless you and your courage steps forward to change the world. Thanks, y'all. Aloha.